Hi, good morning and good afternoon. For those of you that are listening across the nation, this is Larissa with Advanta IRA, and we're going to have Bill Cook on in just a minute to talk about very unique strategies for making investments. And ultimately, what he's going to do here is preview his upcoming seminar with Pete Fortunato, What Box. That seminar is in Atlanta in September, and we're going to also give you that information in case you're interested in joining Bill and Pete for that seminar. Again, it's in September. It's September, I believe, 15th and 16th. Is that correct, Bill?
That's correct.
Okay. So you'll also have the information if you want to sign up for that seminar at the end of the webinar here. I'm going to take just a minute before I turn everything over to Bill to tell you a little bit about Advanta and what we do here and how self-directed IRAs work with these unique investments. And then I'm going to turn it over to Bill, and he's going to go over a specific investment that he made and the unique way that he was able to get it done. And so, you know, the title of the seminar, the title of the webinar really kind of give you an idea that, you know, an investment or basically a deal can be done. Don't worry about the structure. There's all different ways to get deals done. And so Bill's going to talk about that in just a second. So as I mentioned, my name is Larissa. I'm Larissa Greene with Advanta IRA. I've been with Advanta for just a little over 8 years now. I do marketing, education, and business development, and I have been doing this meeting seminars and webinars for about 6. I do a lot of networking, so for those of you that are local to us, you may have seen me out and about. If you're not local, but you visit RIA groups and investment groups, that's what I do. I go out in the community, I meet investors, I talk about Advanta, and we educate. So this is one of many webinars that we do on a monthly basis. You're always able to join us for our webinars and seminars. They're always no cost, no obligation. So, you know, just send me an email or give me a call if you're interested in finding out what else we have going on. We have a great education series coming up for September and October, where we're going to be talking about ways to get started all through September. It's back to school with self-directed IRAs, and then all through October, we're going to be talking about tax saving strategies. When we get into November, we're going to do deadlines and contribution limits. So make sure that you're joining us for all of those. Before I continue on, I do want to let you know that we do keep everybody in the webinar muted. It just makes for a nice, clean webinar, nice, clean recording. But if you have questions, we are going to take questions throughout the webinar. So just go to your question box, type it in, and we'll get those questions answered as we go. So who is Advanta? Well, we are a self-directed IRA administrator. What that means basically is we can hold qualified funds for you and you find the investment. So we provide a service. We hold the retirement account. You go out there and find the investments that you know best, that you're comfortable with, and we help you get them properly titled in the name of the IRA account. And then we do the record keeping for those accounts on your behalf. And so we don't sell anything at all. We're just going to help you make those investments that you want to make. And we have 2 offices. We're in Largo, Florida, and we're also in Atlanta, Georgia, but we can help anybody nationwide and even worldwide. So as long as you have a U.S.-based retirement account, we can help you with those accounts and we can help you make those investments as you see fit. What we don't do is give you tax, legal, or investment advice. So we teach a lot. We teach almost on a daily basis, but what we're talking about is the rules for self-directing these types of accounts, basically what the IRS allows you to do and what they don't allow you to do. And so we can help you kind of figure out whether or not an investment strategy you're thinking about will fit into the IRA platform. But if you ask, you know, is this a good return? How should I structure this deal? Do I need an attorney? We're going to refer you to professionals that can actually help you with those questions and answer them for you in the right way. But if you have a question, you know, and you're not sure where that falls, ask it anyway. And if I need to refer you out, I can certainly do that. So many people haven't heard of self-directed retirement accounts, and very simply the reason for that is because brokerage firms have decided that they're not going to hold what they consider hard to value investments. And so, you know, they want to sell you assets that they're very familiar with, that are market traded, and so they don't want to do something, you know, real estate based where they might have to pay expenses or receive income that is not directly related to the market. And so that's what we really do here. And so, you know, the reverse of that is we actually can't help you with anything market-based at all. We only hold what we consider private investments. And the list does go on and on for those private investments, but we can't, you know, help you trade stocks, for example, here. Now, if you wanted to invest in something that's considered private stock, that is something that we can help you with. And, just a little known fact, less than 2% of all retirement accounts are truly self-directed. So many people have self-directed accounts with brokerage firms where they get to choose the investments. But again, all of those investments are going to be market types of investments, so stocks, bonds, and mutual funds that are traded every day on the market. And so, truly self-directed accounts, what we're talking about here are going to be things like real estate and notes and mortgages, tax liens, and I'll kind of go over a quick list of those items for you in just a second. So somebody did ask in the question box if you can have a copy of the slides. You absolutely can have a copy of the slides. What I'll do is when we send out the recording, and it will go to everybody that is on today and registered, we'll include a PDF version of all of the slides for you as well, so you'll be able to, look back at them and refer to them if you need. I like to give everybody an idea of the different types of accounts that can be self-directed, and one of the big reasons is that a lot of times when I meet people, they say, well, I don't have a Roth IRA, so I can't self-direct it, and I'm not really sure where that comes from. But, rule of thumb, if it ends in IRA, it can be self-directed. Remember that self-direction describes the investment, not the type of account. There's a lot of confusion in that. Oftentimes people say, well, I'm looking for a self-directed account, and I don't see that on your forms. All of our accounts are going to be self-directed, and they have to be qualified funds. So meaning we can't help you with personal cash, but anything you have in a retirement account or a similar type of account can be self-directed. And so I have a quick list up here for you on the screen: Roth, traditional, SEP, simple plans, solo 401ks, any retirement account where you've severed ties with the employer. So any old employer's plans like a 403B, a TSP, a Florida pension plan, any of those things can be self-directed. And if you'll notice, I also have up here education savings accounts and health savings accounts. And the reason very simply is we can hold those accounts. The rules for self-directing them is going to be exactly the same, so we can help you with those as well. I like to go over a very quick list of investments that we've seen here at Advanta. And the reason really is a lot of our clients are very creative, they're very entrepreneurial, they have these great ideas for investments, and really the IRS has not given us a list of investments that you can do. What they have done instead is said this is what you can't do, and that list is very, very short, and I'm not going to go into it in this webinar, but if you guys would like to sort of hear the rules for those investments, send me an email, give me a call, and I can send you a webinar or make sure you're added to the next webinar where we teach on those rules. But just for now, to get you really thinking about different things that we see on a daily basis, real estate is the biggest investment that we see here at Advanta. We have $1 billion under management, so that's a lot of real estate, and it's commercial, it's residential, it's whatever our clients want to do. So keep that in mind. And it can be something that's short-term, like a rehab, or it can be long-term. It can be a buy and hold rental. It can be even something like vacation rental. So, I know I'm seeing that's really trending as far as investments go. If you're thinking about doing vacation rentals, you can certainly do that. Another investment I'm seeing a lot of now is going to be multifamily investments where they're buying apartment complexes or even maybe mobile home parks. And so all of those things can be done within a self-directed IRA. If you're not interested in being a landlord with your retirement funds, you can also do what I kind of consider the paper side of investing, where you maybe lend money in the form of a mortgage. And that could be long-term or short-term if you want to do a joint venture and get involved with a rehabber who needs, funds short-term, or something where you're doing like a bridge loan or helping people with closing costs. All of those things are permitted within a self-directed account. You can also do things like tax liens and deeds, unsecured notes. And I always like to mention that one because, maybe you're not comfortable with that investment, but there are many people out there actually that do unsecured notes. And you know what they say, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. So you're typically going to see a higher rate of return, but of course you have a lot more risk in something that's considered unsecured. It can also be a second mortgage, a third mortgage. It's completely up to you. And so just remember that Advanta, your third-party administrator, is not going to make those determinations for you. They're just going to go to you and say, okay, I see that this is unsecured, just so you're aware, it's going to be an unsecured note in our system. So you let us know and then we help you get it done. I've also seen things like assignments of contracts, option contracts for real estate, and accounts receivable. And then the truly unique alternative assets, there are so many of them out there. And a lot of times people will look at this list and they'll say, farm animals, that seems like something you wouldn't want to do in your retirement account. But think about it this way. The advantage of a self-directed IRA is that you get to invest in what you know best. And so, we have people come to us that are farmers, for example, and they know cattle really well. And so when they think about how they're saving for retirement, they might not know anything about the market, but they know, cattle, and that's where they want to put their retirement account. And so we have seen people invest in cattle, race horses, alpaca. Recently, we had a client do hogs. So again, completely up to the account holder. We saw movie projects here and in Atlanta. I've seen large equipment leasing, and so that could be like farm equipment, ATM machines, large format printers. I've seen foreign currency exchange and cryptocurrency, and of course, that we see a lot of cryptocurrency now. We didn't, 6 months ago, we did a year ago, and so it's kind of going in waves with how well cryptocurrency is doing. We see a lot of private stock, and that could be in things like local banks and breweries, restaurants, and so there's a lot of that floating around, and I think sometimes people don't even consider that something like that might be private and not something a brokerage account is willing to hold. And so before I turn this over to Bill, I just want to give everybody an idea of how that investment looks in a self-directed IRA. So what is the process to get it there? A lot of times people think it's a loan from the IRA, and it is not. It's an actual asset or investment of the account, just like stock would be. I think it's very normal for us to think about stock. It's the most common investment for a retirement account. And so when you're invested in stock, you kind of set it and forget it. You don't consider profits or loss on that account because it's within your IRA. Well, that same exact idea is there for real estate as well. And so, in this case study, I really just want to highlight the fact that you find the investment, we help you get it properly titled, and then all of the income is going to go directly back to the retirement account, and all of the expenses are going to be paid by the retirement account. And so those are very important parts of the rules. In this example, Susan has an old 401k that she rolls over to a self-directed IRA. She finds a piece of real estate. She lets us know the purchase price, and from there, we're going to assist her. She's going to let us know who her real estate agent is, who her closing attorney or title agent is, and we're going to help her make sure everything is properly titled in the name of the IRA. And upon closing, we're going to actually sign all of the closing docs. We do first have Susan read and approve everything, letting us know that she reviewed it and she's okay with everything entailed in that purchase. And then from there, we'll actually treat it as a mail away closing. And now the IRA holds that asset as an investment. That's what's going to show on her statement. So how does that work? She opens an account. We help her fund it. We help her get everything titled properly in the name of the IRA. And then we actually do hold title here at Advanta. So we'll hold the deed on her behalf. All of the expenses need to be paid by the IRA. All of the income needs to be received by the IRA. And a lot of times people will say, well, are you managing the property? We are not property managers. What we're doing here is record keeping for the account. And so what you want to make sure of is you're not providing sweat equity. You're not doing any of the repairs, but you can hire who you choose to make those repairs or do any of the work that needs to be done on behalf of that account. And so if you want to hire a handyman, or if there's a local guy cutting lawns in the area, you want to just have him go and cut the lawn for you, you can do all of those things. And basically you just come to Advanta. We hold the checking account for your IRA and say, hey, can you please cut a check to Joe's Lawn Service, and we'll do those things for you. The other thing you want to make sure of is that your tenants are paying the rent directly to Advanta. You can certainly receive the check so that you can make sure your tenant is paying on time, but that check needs to be made out to your IRA account, and then you would forward it on to Advanta, or your tenants can send them directly to Advanta. And, on the first of the month, we're very busy here with people walking in with their rent checks or mortgage payments. And then, of course, we have the extra large mailbox here at Advanta because we're getting all of that by mail, coming in from all over the country. So, and just to give you an idea of what that deed would look like, that bottom line there, Advanta IRA for benefit of Susan Smith IRA number 1234. And something to keep in mind too is if you're looking for a little bit of anonymity, you do not have to include your name. You can use your IRA number. That is an identifier, and we can certainly do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I have one more slide here. What happens if you're short on funds? And so, there's a lot to think about when you're purchasing real estate in an IRA. And if you're already a real estate investor, you already know there's a lot of things. There's a lot of calculations. You kind of want to be able to look ahead. Okay, what does this investment need now? What is it going to need in the near future? Does it already have a tenant in place? And so you're going to want to consider all of those things for your IRA as well, keeping in mind that, if you go all into this one investment, what's going to happen if it needs a roof or there's a plumbing leak? You can always make an annual contribution. You can transfer money between retirement accounts as often and whenever you like. You can always borrow money, but you want to keep in mind that there's some moving parts to that, like additional tax implications, as well as it having to be a non-recourse loan. Or you can bring in a partner, and if you do it at the outset, you can partner with whomever you like. If you do it after the fact, you have to bring in what's called a non-disqualified individual. So that's really just an overview for you. And like I said, if you guys are interested in learning more about the rules and the different strategies we see at Advanta, email me, give me a call. I'll send you some webinars. You can also go to YouTube, search Advanta IRA, and they're all archived up there. Or let me know, and I'll make sure that you get the calendar of events for the next several months, because we got a lot of great educational events going on. So with that, I'm going to turn everything over to Bill. And I just want to remind everybody that if you have questions, go ahead and type them into the question box and we'll get them answered. How are you doing today, Bill?
I am doing great, Larissa. Thanks so much for inviting me to be here.
Absolutely.
And Larissa will tell you that I'm terrified of doing this because I'm not used to webinars, because it's a tech thing, and I'm convinced that I'll mess things up and my computer will smoke down. So she has really held my hand through this, and I'm just very, very grateful, Larissa.
Absolutely, no problem. And don't worry about a thing. We got it under control.
Okay, my turn?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple things. First of all, y'all need to know that I've known Larissa probably for about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years, and absolutely think the world of her. That's why I agreed to do this. As scared as I am of doing a webinar, I just really think the world of her. And the reason why is when I'm down in the St. Pete, Tampa area, I attend a lot of different real estate investor meetings with a lot of my friends are down there. And I always see Larissa there. She always shows up. She's very dependable. You can count on her giving really good information. And that is a big part of why, a lot of the seasoned investors that I know, Larissa is who we turn to hold our self-direct accounts. Because again, she's there and she's great to work with. So that's an unplugged thing for Larissa, but we really do think the world of her. And as far as Kim and me go, and you're seeing the picture of the two of us that's been photoshopped God knows how many times. But anyway, that's the redhead, and we're not a big deal. We invest in a 5-mile circle around the Cartersville, Georgia Walmart. That's where all our properties are. Mainly we invest in single-family houses, small mobile home park, notes, and options. And we probably averaged maybe 10 to 15 deals a year. We kept a lot of the properties that we did. The thing is, we've done it. She and I started together in 1995, so it's been 20 some odd years. And I did my first creative deal structure back in 1990. So don't think that you have to be someone who goes out and does 30 deals a year, 30 deals a month to be successful. Because most of us, we're just not built that way. We're just onesies and twosies. And I know that's the way it is for me and Kim. And Larissa, I lost my there it is. Thank you. So that's who we are. And that's my contact information. So I don't coach or mentor or anything like that. But if you want to reach me, if you have a phone call about a deal you're working on, and you're like, how do I do this? There's my phone number. And I prefer a phone call over anything else, because I always have a lot of questions. I don't like typing emails and stuff like that. But feel free to call me. And on the website, right now I'm with a good friend of mine named Jeff Chahusky. We're up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we're building a new website, so that's where it's going to be. Also, we have a new Facebook page that just went up. And on the YouTube channel, I show you that only because I've done a lot of videos over the year, not me sitting behind a desk, but when I'm out in the field, because I'm a door knocker and someone who goes out and talks to sellers on a regular basis. When I saw something interesting, or how would I deal with this problem, or something just kind of, piqued my curiosity, I would shoot a video on it. So for those of you that are out there that are real estate investors and want to, you're interested in doing deals or deal structures, that can help out. But again, going back to what I said, feel free to give me a call. So first thing I want to talk about, what this whole program is about financial freedom. So people always ask, what is financial freedom? And it's achieved when your capital is working for you rather than you working for your capital. In other words, you don't have to get up and go to work every day to earn your money. And we call that mailbox money. And that's why when Kim and I have said, what we invest in is we have single family houses. Well, that's rent checks coming into our P.O. box. And we have a mobile home park. Again, more checks coming in the P.O. box. We're also lenders. So again, checks coming in the mailbox. And then we do a good bit of option work. And that will be checks at some point in time coming into the mailbox. And if you're financially free, once you've achieved that, and that's why this is our goal, the main thing it gives you is the ability to do what you want, when you want, where you want, why you want, with whom you want. And that truly is what we all want. Just to be able, when we want to go do something, just let us go do it and not be told a bunch of reasons why we can't. So to kind of give you a visualization of that, take a look at the picture you're looking at, and that's a picture of an almond. And I always ask people, what are you looking at? And they're like, well, it's an almond. And I'm saying, okay, so there's an almond. What can you do with it? And people will say, well, eat it. And that's what most people do is they may have their almond sitting there in front of them, and then they just eat it. But the thing is, that's really not an almond. When you look at it closely, if you could open it up, if you kind of get down to the inner workings of that, what you're really looking at is an endless source of almonds, an endless possibility of what can be done with that one seed. But the key is you can't eat the seed. You have to plant it. You have to nurture it. And so let's say you plant the one seed and you get one almond tree. Okay, big deal. You got to wait 8-10 years before it starts producing almonds. And the thing is, when you get those almonds, you can't eat those either. You have to plant those. And if you'll do that over the course of 10 or 15 years, you keep planting those seeds instead of harvesting and eating, then all of a sudden before you're done, you have an endless supply of almonds. In this case, what we're really talking about is mailbox money. But you have to plant the seed. You can't eat it. You can't turn it into a boat. You can't turn it into a motorcycle. You can't turn it into a house you can't afford. You have to invest in either notes or rental properties or things that are going to make you money, those capital assets. And to kind of give you an example of a seed being planted, I want you to look at a real simple deal that Kim and I did back in 2008. And it's going to be a mobile home that's in a park. And I'm doing this because you're talking about very cheap money, very easy to get it into. You can do it from the point of view that you're on the mobile home, or you can do it as a lender to people who buy mobile homes. So this deal, though, is a single wide trailer. It's in the mobile home park in Adairsville, Georgia, which is where most of our properties are. When you're looking at this deal involves a T-bar offer, a teeter-totter offer, a Lonnie deal, a second buy of the apple deal, a participation note, a self-directed IRA, a private money lender, owner financing, a lease option, and all those things are rolled into this one little bitty deal. So part of what we're talking about is creative deal structuring. And whenever I teach on a deal that Kim and I have done, I try to always talk about how it was found, how it was structured, how it was funded. Then once we had it, what do we do with it? So again, Larissa mentioned that Pete Fortunato and I will be teaching our White Box seminar we teach every year in Atlanta on September 14th and 15th of 2019. And you'll be seeing about, probably about 15 to 18 of these deals, creative deals I've done, and 15 to 18 that Pete's done. But here's what's involved in this. And most people think creative deal structure is, you just go find a house, go to a bank and get the money, and then you flip it, because every show you go to right now in A&E is about flipping. Just understand that flipping is not investing. Wholesaling is not investing. Assigning of notes is not investing. What that is a business. You're a capitalist. You're a business person. That's good. But you have to keep doing that to have money coming in. When you invest in real estate, that means you buy a piece of property, and then it just keeps sending you a check for many, many years. You don't have to keep working for it. So this was a property we bought at 141 Poplar Springs. And the way it was found is in 2008. Now, if you would ask me before then, would I ever even consider buying a mobile home? Because Kim and I did single-family houses. I never would have thought ever about buying a mobile home. I mean, who wants that? But in 2008, the market was crashing, and a lot of people were calling me. I had an ad in the local paper saying, we buy, sell, rent houses, Bill Cook, my phone number. And all of a sudden, in 2008, my phone's ringing, and everybody's saying, do you have anything at $400 a month, $450 a month? And the answer was no, because my house, the cheapest house I had, was $800 a month. But what people were seeking because of the downturn in the economy was affordable housing. And we just didn't have that because I didn't want to do duplexes or apartment buildings because that was more like a job. And so I looked at Kim and I said, and we had heard a guy named Lonnie Scruggs teach a number of times. And so we looked at this and said, I looked at Kim and said, we need to get into some affordable housing. I said, because if I get one more phone call, and with that, my phone rang. And it was someone who actually asked me, do you have anything at $375 a month? And I looked at Kim and said, we've got to do this. And so a Lonnie deal, it was invented by a guy named Lonnie Scruggs. And you buy a mobile home for cash that's in a park. So therefore, they don't own the dirt. They don't own the dirt, just the home. You buy it for cash, but you sell it on time. And the reason why this works is if someone has a used mobile home in a park they own, and someone else wants to buy it, that person, often because of credit, can't go afford to get a loan. But even if they could go to a bank, there is no bank that will loan on a mobile home that's sitting in the park, that's used. It's just not going to happen. And so Lonnie got into this in the late 70s because he wanted to get in the note business, and he couldn't find any notes to buy. So he just used mobile homes to create the notes. And this kind of helped him achieve that goal. So that's what a Lonnie deal is. And once I decided to do this, I went and told all my investor friends, I said, if you come across a property, someone has a mobile home involved, let me know. And it was probably about a month later, I got a call from Kermit Hopper, who's a friend of mine there in Adairsville. And Kermit called me up and said, I have someone who wants to move into a house that I have. And he said, it's a lease option that I have. He said, but he has a mobile home in this park, and he has to sell it before he can get in this home. He's worried about losing the home, because the home is the home of his dreams. It's what he wants, but he can't get into it because he can't sell his home. So I went to go meet with this person. Before we get to the deal itself, I want to show you Lonnie Scruggs because he's the one in the tan coat, and that's who Lonnie deals are named after. And then next to him is Dyke Spotiford, who's been my teacher since probably 1997. So Dykes has a wealth of information when it comes to mobile homes, mobile home parks. And so when I got ready to do this very first deal that involved a mobile home, even though I'd been doing deals for about 12, 13 years, I still turned to Dykes because I'd never done a mobile home. I'd never done a Lonnie deal. And so I turned to him to bring him into the deal so he could oversee it and make sure I didn't do anything stupid. So these are going to be all the players who are involved in this deal. Now what you're looking at is something called a T-bar. And I want to slow down for a minute because the T-bar is by far the most important document I use when I'm talking to a seller or a buyer. And the reason why it's so important, I'll be in someone's house, and I just ask for a sheet of paper. And on the sheet of paper, I make a T. And on the left-hand side, I put down current position. And on the right-hand side, I put down potential position. And it's helping me to understand and get the answer to Pete Fortunato's famous question, which is, why are you selling such a nice home like this? Or if I'm trying to sell a house, it's why do you want to buy such a nice home like this? But this is the why of what's going on. This is the uncomfortable circumstance. So as I sat down and talked to the person who owned this single wide mobile home, who wanted to move into Kermit's, who wanted to lease option Kermit's house, when I talked to him, I said, why do you want to sell such a nice home like this? And he said, I like Kermit's house. I've been in the mobile home for a long time. It's paid for, but I really would like to get this house. My wife likes it. It's perfect for us. It's a great location. He said, but I really want this. And I said, okay, that's great. And I said, why don't you just buy it? And he said, well, I don't have the money right now. And also I've got to do something with this mobile home. So I need to get my mobile home sold fast. And if I can get it sold fast, then that's going to allow me to get into this home. But he said, I've had a lot of people come to look at the mobile home, but no one has the money. He said, I want my price. I want my price. And I said, and everybody comes to me and they're making these lowball offers. And I said, okay, lowball offers. And I said, how much do you need to move into Kermit's house? What is it? How much cash do you need? And he said, well, Kermit's non-refundable option fee is $3,000. I need $3,000. So, okay. And then he said, and if you do buy my mobile home, I need at least 10 days to get moved. I can't just do it in one weekend. We have to do it in pieces and get the power turned on. So this is his why. This is his current position. Now watch what happens. And this is why T-bar becomes so important. All he has to do is say yes to me. All he has to do is say, accept my offer. And if he'll do that, he'll move from the left-hand side to the right-hand side of the T-bar. So if he says yes, he can get Kermit single-family house. And we can buy it in 3 days. And we'll pay his asking price. And he'll have his $3,000 cash. And we'll give him the 10 days to get moved. So this is how I negotiate. And here's why the T-bar is so important. Sometimes the why is more important than the how much. And if you guys if anybody out there is real estate investors, you know that in the contract you're using right now, nowhere in it does it talk about the why. In a realtor's contract, nowhere in it does it talk about the why. It only talks about the how much. But oftentimes, the why is more important, and the T-bar shows the why. So here's the deal structure. When I talked to him, he wanted $11,400 for this trailer. And I didn't want to pay more than $5,000. That was my top number. And one of the ways I negotiate, and it's different from a lot of folks, is this. I don't go head to head. I'm not going to sit across the table from them. What I do is I find out what they want. And then I discover why they want it by asking a lot of questions. And then I'll do anything I can to help them get it. So that's how I negotiate. It's not a conflict. It's not two sides of the table. It's not like labor unions and management. It's I'm on their side. Let me help. And so what I did here is I made them something called a teeter-totter offer. And so with a teeter-totter offer, I want you to think of a teeter-totter. And on a teeter-totter, there's two seats. So picture, if you draw out a picture right now, draw a picture of a teeter-totter. And on one seat above it, write down price. And on the other end of the board, right down above that seat, terms. So it's called a price terms offer is another phrase for, another name for a teeter-totter offer. And so with this, I will give the seller their price, but they have to give me the other end of the teeter-totter, which is terms. Or I'll give the seller terms, but they have to give me the other seat on the teeter-totter, which is price. But whichever way they want to go, that's fine. So that's what a teeter-totter offer is, and I use these a lot. And so in this case, the seller said he wanted $11,400, and he said, I'm firm on my price, Bill. I don't want to have a lowball offer. So even though I only wanted to pay $5,000, I gave him the $11,400 price. Only one problem, and a lot of us run into this. I didn't have the $11,400. I didn't have any of that money, but I agreed to pay that price. Now, he had told me that what he needed was $3,000 to give to Kermit. So here's how I structured my offer. Because remember, he is on the teeter-totter is asking for price. I'll pay it $11,400, but I get terms. How do I pay him the $11,400? And so I'm going to give him $3,000 cash. That's down payment. And then I would give him a note for $8,400, 0% interest, 84 monthly payments of $100 a month. And if I can sell this mobile home, a Lonnie deal again, sell the mobile home, buy it for cash, sell it on time, I knew I could have this thing rented for about $375 a month. Not rented, but I'd sell the mobile home, owner financing, take a note back, and if I'm getting in $375 a month, and paying the seller of the mobile home $100 a month for his note, I'm netting out $275 a month, and that worked for me. But again, I didn't have the $3,000 to give to him, nor had I ever done a Lonnie deal before, and I didn't want to make any mistakes. So one of the big lessons I learned was I turned to someone, when I'm doing a new deal structure, I turned to someone who has experience doing that deal. And in this case, I went to Dyke Spotiford. So we'll come to him in a second. Here's a little bit of the paperwork involved in doing this deal. So here's the bill of sale, because a mobile home is not real estate. It's like buying a car or a boat. So there's a bill of sale, and I use trust to when I buy my properties, to hold properties, I always use trust. So D. Cooper is trustee of the Poplar Springs Trust. that would be the holder of this property. I paid his price. I didn't negotiate a dime because I gave him price. I got terms. Here are the terms: $3,000 down, a note for $8,400. There are the $100 a month for 5 years, with a balloon at 60 months, and 0% interest. And the payments would start about a month later. So that was the bill of sale. And then, and then here's a promissory note. So this is as complicated as my paperwork got. So here's the IOU, the bill of sale. It just says it's $8,400, and how I'm going to pay him back 5 years, payments $100 a month. And so the trustee signed that. And on the bill of sale, he signed that. Now, let's go and turn around to how this thing got funded. So now you know the structure. You know how it was found. So here's how it was funded. I went to a private money lender. And that private money lender was my friend Dykes Botifer. And Dykes had a ton of Lonnie deal experience. And he had told me, as we talked, he said, I have some money sitting. So if you know of anyone who needs a loan, I have some money sitting. And so that's really what this call is about, because we're using self-directed IRAs. That's the call is about self-directed IRAs. And then making loans or getting loans from people that have self-directed IRAs, private individuals. And so I turned to Dykes, and the way we did it was I gave him something called participation notes. So he gave me $3,000 so I could take this deal down. And in return, I gave him a note. But instead of saying I'm borrowing $3,000 at 8% interest with payments or whatever, instead it was a participation note. So what Dykes got, and this was in the form of interest, but the way I paid him was 50% of the profits. So every time, whatever profits I made each month, net profit on this deal, he got half of it. So we're doing a 50-50 split on this deal. And Dykes, I promised to go ahead and pay him as I got this house sold with owner financing. All the money that came in the beginning, I would give him all the money until he had his $3,000 back, so we could have that money back into his self-directed IRA, and then he would have that money to loan out to somebody else. And I'm the one that found the deal. So what I'm bringing to the table is I found the gold nugget. I found the deal, and I agreed to do all management. And to this day, Dykes has only been by that mobile home one time. And we're going back to 2008, so 11 years ago we did this deal. And so, through 2018, Dykes has made over $20,000 on this deal, even though we're talking about not a lot of dollars. And that does not include the $3,000 he got back. So the exit strategy on this was we were going to sell it with owner financing. So because I'm selling with owner financing, think back to the teeter-totter. So now I'm offering to give someone terms. The buyer of this home, I'm going to give them terms. So they take that side of the teeter-totter, but I get to name the price. So again, when I'm dealing with someone, when I dealt with the seller of this mobile home, I let him name price, I took terms. And now I'm letting the seller, the buyer of the home, name terms, so I take price. So in this case, I sold it for $16,900, $500 down, 75 monthly payments of $375, with an interest rate of 18.984%. And a little side note on this. One of the most important things that Dykes did for me in this deal, in addition to kind of hand walking me through the deal, and I was making a couple mistakes because, again, I was really good with single family homes, but did not know to make sure I went and talked to the owner of the park first, make sure I had permission to buy in the park. But one of the most important things to do that he did for me was on this deal, when I was going to put it on the market, I told him, he goes, what kind of interest are you going to charge when you sell it? And I said, well, right now I've sold a couple homes, owner financing, and 8% is pretty much the going market. And he said, no, charge 18. And I said, Dykes, I'm telling you right now, no one's going to pay 18%. 8% is the rate. And he said, now charge 18% interest. And I had a really, he and I went and had a couple back and forths on this. He said, just do it. And I did. And do you know that when I put this house on the market to sell, nobody ever mentioned interest rate, how many months? All they asked about is, what is the monthly payment? And in this case, at $375 a month, this home became very affordable in what people were looking for. And that one change that Dykes did, looking over my shoulder, made a huge difference, because this was my very first Lonnie deal. But I will tell you that Kim and I ended up doing over 55 Lonnie deals, and we ended up buying a mobile home park the next year. But if it hadn't been for him and this one tweak of this deal structure, it would have cost us a lot of money and made our deals probably a little bit more risky. And if you're looking for a good yield right now, if you have your money sitting in a savings account in a bank, then if you're getting 2% interest, you're doing great. But our yield on this deal is almost 180% per year. And here's the important part. My yield on this deal is infinite. And the reason why is I don't have any money into it. That's Dykes' $3,000. So as I did this yield, what I looked at was we put $3,000 in order to get that note paying $375 a month. Oh yeah, and I told you I bought this property in a trust as I do all my properties. And I threw this slide in. First of all, you can see pretty Larissa. She's in a pink hat. She is not the three ugly guys. And now you get to see what she looks like. And next to her, with a very flashy tie, it's the only tie he owns that he bought in 1967 or 68, is Pete Fortunato. And that's who I'm teaching Whatbox with. And next to her is Dykes Botiford. So there we are. But anyway, Dykes has a class coming up August 17th and 18th in Atlanta about trust. And again, you can go to his website at assets101.com. But just a great guy, been one of my primary teachers. Both of those guys have been my teachers, Dykes since 1997 and Pete since 1999. So let's go to a problem that you might have seen. I overpaid for this home. So I only wanted to pay $5,000, not a dime more. But I ended up paying $11,400. And some of you know me and know that, I get our deals by door knocking. And I take big groups of people out door knocking, 30 people at a time. And it's nothing for me to find a house where the seller is asking $250,000 for the house. And my offer will be for $800,000, $1 million, $5 million. I don't care what the price they want. Remember the teeter-totter? I'll pay whatever price they want as long as they let me take terms. And people always say, well, if you bought a $250,000 house for $1 million, you'll never pay it off. And the answer is, well, I will pay it off. Well, maybe not me, but it will be paid off in 3, 4, 500 years. It'll get paid off eventually. But in that time, I'll be getting cash flow the entire time. But there's a second bite of the apple involved in this. So let's talk about when I overpay for a house, when I pay more than I wanted. I want to show you another step I have to the transaction, kind of like Pete's deal after the deal. This is what's in my head. So with this particular sale of his mobile home, I made him 2 payments of $100 per month. And he was very happy with that. And then I sent him an offer and I said, listen, I'm so happy that you trusted me. I'll never be late on a payment. I'll keep making payments of $100 a month. I hope we can do more business in the future. I would love to keep making you a lot more payments than this. I said, but I just did another deal, and I've got $2,025 cash sitting here that I don't know what to do with. Now, I'm happy to keep making you those payments of $100 a month, or I'll give you the $2,025 note in exchange for the note, whichever one you want. So here's what's important to realize. When I was buying his home to him was worth $11,400, and that's what he wanted. And so I gave it to him. I gave him his price. I took the terms. Now it's 2 months later, 2 months later, and I'm going to him and I'm asking a completely different question, and his home is not involved in this discussion. That's behind us. Now I'm asking him a simple question. Do you want $100 a month? Or would you rather have a lump sum of cash instead? In this case, $2,025. And when I asked him this question, and here's something else to know, I didn't care which one he said, because if he says, I like to get the $100 a month, great, I'm cash flowing $275 a month. Or if he said, I'll take the $2,025, great, I'll do it that way too. And in this case, he took the $2,025. And I got to tell you that probably 95% of the time, the person I'm talking to when I make this offer, they take the lump sum of cash. So what this means is I really ended up buying this home for $5,225. So it's $5,000 I wanted to pay. I made 2 payments of $100 a month, and then the $225 plus the 2 payments of $100 a month, plus the $3,000 we put down. my total price was right at a little bit above what I wanted to pay most, even though I was willing to pay double. Now take that to houses. So if someone has a $100,000 house, I'll pay $200,000 for it. So just add more zeros to the number, but this is why. This is how this works. So here we go back to the promissory note that I gave him when I bought it. But down below, I just typed in this note was satisfied, so you can see it's 2 months later, and you see the check, and then he got $2,025, and then he signed it, and then I now have, this is the note that I gave him, and I now have this note back, and so there's no more note. So it's me, I have this. So here are some of the lessons to learn from this deal. Number one is, if you want to succeed, be the rainmaker. So in this case, I wanted to start doing money deals, and I went out and found the uncomfortable circumstance. I went out and found this thing, didn't know what to do with it, didn't know how to do it, didn't have the money to do it with, which is a lot of time our case as real estate investors, especially when we're going into a new deal structure. But the thing is, I went and found it, so I was the rainmaker. And another thing to learn from this is when you're doing money deals, they're a really safe, high-yielding way to get real estate investing, to dip your toe in the water. But don't just go in and say, I'm going to start doing money deals. You need to learn about it. So I will tell you that the 2 classes that I took, the 2 books that I used to learn this, first was Dykes Botiford's book, and it's called Mobile Home Money Machine. And that's where I got my contracts from. Again, he made me buy the manual and read it and understand it before he would do this deal with me. And the second, Lonnie Scruggs has a nice book called Deals on Wheels. And so those are the 2 places where I learned how to do Lonnie deals in 2008. And again, before then, if you would have asked me, do you want to ever own a mobile home? The answer is no, or a mobile home park. Not a chance. So just remember, you don't need cash to do a deal. I found an uncomfortable circumstance, and I found the money came to me through Dykes. And on a lot of my deals, I partner with gray hair and bald heads because they know what to do. They keep me out of trouble, and they have the money they bring into the table, and they teach me how to do this. And I'm always willing to give in order to get. I don't look at what I'm not getting. I never looked back and said, well, Dykes has made $20,000 on this deal, or he got half the profit. Look at what I got from what I learned from him. Kim and I went out and did 55 more of these. And plus, we got a mobile home park that I never would have done without him. And back to the T-bar, that is by far the most important document I use at the table because it shows the seller why. And the why often is more important than the how much. And we talked about a price terms offer, which is another name for a teeter-totter offer. And you also saw a second by the apple work. And really it's a case of, from the seller's point of view, he was the note holder. Did he want the fast nickel, which was the $2,025, or did he want the slow dime, which was $100 a month? And in this case, he took the fast nickel, and they often do. Now for the rest of the story on this deal. So we did this deal in 2008, and we turned around and we sold it for $16,900, $500 down, 72 payments, $375 a month, 18% interest. But then after a few years, the person who was in this home left. He moved. And then we resold the home for a little bit more, $17,900, still $500 down, but now it's 108 payments. I lowered the payment from $375 down to $300 because the market had changed a little bit, and now we're at 15% interest. And then he moved out in 2018, and we just sold this house again the end of last year for $23,900, $500 down. Now it's 120 payments of $350 a month. So I want you to see what happens. And one of the biggest things I learned about this is in the mobile home business. It's not the homes that are mobile. This home had moved. It's the people who are mobile. They're more transient than someone who's in a single family house. And I didn't know this going into it. It's just something I discovered because my mobile homes just don't pay off. They people move out and someone else moves in. And if you're scared of owning notes or holding notes, one of the things to remember is, what can I do with this note? I could sell the note to someone else. I could trade it for something I like better. I can use it as collateral for something. So don't think just because you hold the note, you can't do anything with it. So from looking at this deal, realize that all deals are possible. There's no box. And that's why Pete and I have a course called What Box? And think of deal structuring as its own language. So when you looked at this deal and you saw all the different moving parts, understand that in 1990, when I first got started, I couldn't have done this deal in a million years. I wouldn't have known how to speak this language. So deal structuring is a learned language. You're not born knowing how to do it. And think of it this way. If I asked you the question, is Chinese hard to learn? You would tell me, well, yeah, Chinese is really hard to learn. But I'll tell you that it's not, and I'll prove it to you. Because right now in China, there's 1 billion 5-year-olds, and their brains are not fully formed, but they can speak Chinese fluently. And the secret to their ability to speak Chinese with unformed brains is they're around it all the time. They're immersed in it. And that's how you learn creative deal structure. You have to be around people and go to the best teachers, and you have to learn the language. But it's not important enough to just to learn the language, because you're not going to learn it in a month. It's going to take. It took me. If you go to our website at billandkimcook.com, there's a button at the top called Bill and Kim Cook, and you'll see our bio there. But you don't give a damn about our bios. Forget that. But below that, you'll see the timeline that we followed, meaning each time we learned a new deal structure, and look at how long it took us to become really good at creative deal structure. And it was 10 years. We didn't do it in like 6 months. It took us 10 years to get good at this. And another thing about creative deal structuring is it's not just learning the language. You have to stay immersed. And I tell you that to tell you this. My first language was Spanish. I was born in Barranquilla, Colombia. My dad was a pilot down there. And so that's where I was born, so I spoke Spanish. And then we moved to Thailand. And so during the Vietnam War, we lived in Thailand, a little place called Udon Thani on the Laotian border. And so my second language was Thai. And then when we moved to the States, a little place called Enterprise, Alabama, because my dad got a job teaching at Fort Rucker, and that's the picture you're seeing. I'm the little kid in the white shirt. I went there not knowing how to speak English, but I learned English. But here's the funny thing. So in that picture, I'm probably 6 years old. But here's the thing. By the time I was 12 or 13, I no longer could speak Spanish or Thai. And the reason why was, for those years, I wasn't immersed in the language anymore. I was immersed in English. I learned that language. So here's a slide. Love to have you come to Whatbox, because, again, it's all deal structures like the one you just saw, each one different from another. And you're going to hear Pete Fortunato, who is the best creative deal structure you'll ever come across in your lifetime. And so he'll be covering 15 to 18 deals. And I'll be covering 15 to 18 of our deals, but it's how they were found, how they were structured, how they were funded. And in no case, I think, any of the deals did we go to banks. And then once we had this property, what did we do with it? In some cases, a couple cases, we sold them. But for the most part, we kept them. Why did we keep them? Remember the almond? Remember the seed? That's why we kept these properties. And also, I know that Larissa will be there too. So looking forward to having you there. So Larissa,
Yep.
That's my program.
Yeah, and then this will actually be my 3rd year attending. Also in the question box, I see somebody else attended in 2018, and she wrote great seminars. So I definitely think everybody should check it out. And, I'd love to meet people that were on the webinar. So if you do attend, just let me know. I'd love to meet you. I did have a couple of questions pop up. One question, every time you sold the mobile home and then the owner basically left or abandoned it, what does that look like as far as the paperwork in order for you to take possession again?
Oh, good question. And I got to add one thing about Whatbox. Just so you all know, the price of the seminar is $447, unless you've been to it before. So Pete and I teach this every year in September down in Atlanta. And for those that attended it before, it's $347 because we want people to come back, again, learning the language. And to go to the answer to you, when I sell a mobile home, I use something called an installment contract. So think of a car. So when you buy a car and go to a lender, you don't get the title of the car. The lender holds the title. Well, with a mobile home, the installment contract I use, and I learned this from Dyke Spotiford, is I hold title, and the title never goes into their name. The title stays in my name, but they're responsible for taxes. They're responsible for the insurance. They have the use of it, the care of it. They take care of it. They get all the benefits of the house except ownership. Now, once they pay off the home, I will sign the title over to them. So when someone moves out on this home, then all that happens is they're not there. And if they don't pay me on time, let's say I've had to evict a couple people, so if it becomes where I'm evicting someone, then by missing a payment, they go from being the owner of the home to being a tenant. So we just use the eviction process. But again, check your local laws to know what to do here. But because I'm holding the title, off they go. I get the home back. Everything's great. No problem whatsoever.
Got ya. Okay. Someone wants to know.
Hang on one second. So I'm holding, finish that thought up. So I'm the one holding title. So again, person's gone, and then as soon as they're gone, I'm very particular who I put in my homes, and I'm very particular in what parks I buy in. So if I'm not willing to live in that park, in that mobile home, in that area of town, I'm not interested. So we have good homes, and the people I put in my homes almost always are contractors. And I go to contractors because the home I get back, if someone moves out early, is in much better condition than the one I gave it. So I have newer cabinets, newer sinks. That's just what contractors do. They take, if someone needs new kitchen countertops or kitchen cabinets, and let's say they're only 5 years old, the contractor will take those kitchen cabinets out of that house, put up the new ones, but take these 5-year-old cabinets and go back to this mobile home that I still own, take out the 10-year-old cabinets, put up the 5-year-old cabinets. So when I get the homes back, I'm able to ask a higher price because the home's in better and better shape. Okay, I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, that was a great answer. We had another question about Dodd-Frank. That's probably going to be a question you want to work on with an attorney on. But yeah. Bill, do you have any comment on how Dodd-Frank works within this, or do you kind of leave that to the attorney?
I leave this to attorneys and local laws and what's going on. So I've been doing line deals since 2008, and there's a couple thoughts I have on it. One is that this is part of the terms of the sale. But there's been I've done a lot of owner financing over the years. And where I pay attention to Dodd-Frank, where I don't want to cross the line, is if someone wants to borrow money from me and the collateral is going to be the personal residence, I'm not going to do that. Because now I'm working as a lender, the personal residence is the collateral. I don't want to get involved in Dodd-Frank. So if they want to a loan against a rental property, I'll do that all day long. Now with this, usually what happens is if someone can't make the payments, all they're going to do is they say, too tough for me, or I've got to go, or I've been transferred. I've never had anyone even look and say, well, Dodd-Frank. And so I just keep doing my thing. But if someone ever started to say, I have a problem, or I don't like how this worked, or they're going to start talking to an attorney, I'm going to sit down with them and we're going to fix the problem at the kitchen table. I don't do attorneys and judges because that's, as Pete teaches us, a soul-stealing experience. And I'd rather just sit down with someone and work out a problem. Same thing with a tenant that maybe they can't pay me or whatever. I'm not going to take them to court. I'm going to sit down with them, and sometimes I've got to rent them a moving truck, or I've got to help them, get to the next place. I'm happy to do that. Just give me my house back. I don't need judges to tell me how to do my business. I'm going to take care of people. And the best way to do this is our job as real estate investors is not to buy, sell, and rent houses. Our job is to solve people's real estate problems. So every day, what I do is I go out and find people to help, and I find problems to solve. And I do that all day long.
And, just based on, that idea, another question popped up, whether or not you went back to the original seller of Poplar Springs and did any other additional deals.
No, I didn't. And in fact, here's the funny thing. So he moved into Kermit's house, lease option. And he was there for a year and realized that having a house was much more expensive than having a trailer. So what he did is he came back to the park, and the home that he's in right now is right next to this trailer. And he bought it, which I think is hilarious. He paid cash for it, but he bought it. So he's back in this park. And I've gone to him. I see him, we're friends, we talk, and he's not upset with me, and we're good. And I said, hey, listen, if you're ever thinking about selling this home, I'll be happy to buy it from you. Because remember, in his mind, I was the only one that paid his price and then tried to dicker him down. He's never been upset with me because he wanted 11.4 and I paid him 11.4, and I was the only one willing to do that because I knew how to do a teeter-totter. I knew how to do a teeter and a T-bar. But so we have a great relationship.
Awesome. Well, I didn't see any other questions pop up, so I just want to direct everybody back to the information. Go to billandkimcook.com to register for What Box coming up September 14th and 15th in Atlanta. And like I said, this is going to be my third year attending. I really enjoy the class. We have a lot of fun, and Bill and Kim do an excellent job of making sure that there's plenty of networking opportunities. So if you want to be able to network with like-minded individuals, new investors, seasoned investors, it's also really great for that. I know, Bill, I think I saw on the schedule, there's a meet and greet on Friday evening, and people always get together on Saturday evening. So great opportunities to learn and also network.
Yeah, this sells out every year, and it will sell out again this year. And a lot of seasoned investors come in there. I mean, some of the best Mike Spotter will be there. And Larissa, I've had several people ask me, are you bringing any of your very famous and very good pens to this event?
Of course.
Okay, just let you know. And then when they heard you were coming, like, is she bringing her pens? And I said, yeah, because everybody loves Larissa's pens.
And I will have plenty of them. So I will be there with pens. Somebody else asked on the webinar about Kim's brownies.
No, we will have a cake there because on the 15th is Kim's birthday. So what we've done is, because Kim and I sold our horse ranch, and we'll talk about that deal during that event, and it's a really interesting deal. I sold our ranch that was worth $500,000 for $300,000. Why would I do that?
Yes. Yep.
So
absolutely.
It's a really good deal structure. But anyway, so we now live in a motorhome and travel around the country. So I'm in Green Bay as I talk about this with my friend Jeff Chahusky, and we're in a motorhome. So Kim doesn't have an oven anymore. Not that she was ever a great cook. That just wasn't her cup of tea. She was a horse girl, so she would rather clean out horse hooves than cook. But yeah, we will have probably German chocolate cake there, a huge one to celebrate Kim's birthday.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. And like I said, for everybody on, I'll make sure that you get the recording and the PDF of the slides. Make sure you visit the website, billandkimcook.com, to register. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Bill, or, if you have self-directed questions, you're welcome to reach out to me as well. And with that, we hope to see you on another event soon enough. Thanks, Bill.
Hope to see everybody in September. Thank you so much, Larissa.
Absolutely.